Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about branding your listings to sell. And we are joined by some amazing agents who are here to give you some tips. So, today's topic is how to align your brand vision with the new concept of home. A lot of things have changed this year, and that definitely includes our homes. The concept of home has changed completely. It's now an office and sometimes a school, but the comfort and security we need from home has become really vital to our well being. So, from obviously needed upgrades to greater attention to personal space, there has never been a time when clients are more aware of how they feel about their home. So I would like our amazing rockstar agents to introduce themselves at this time. And then we're going to be talking about top tips to adjust your brand for this new concept of home. So Christina, we'll start with you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Christina Khosravati, and I'm the founder of Redefined Real Estate.
Awesome. Thank you. And we also have Caroline.
Yeah, I'm Caroline Fuller of SoCo Property up in Sonoma County, and I am the founder.
Awesome. And Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, how's it going, everyone? My name is Kevin Cruz, founder with Kinetic Real Estate, and we serve in North Peninsula area.
Thank you. And I'm the brand strategist here at Side. My name is Dre, and I work on the creative team. So I'd love to know what some of the most surprising things you guys have observed in how your clients are adapting to the new concept of home, and maybe a little bit about how you've advised them within there. Christina, I'd love to start with you.
Yeah, definitely. This year has been a whirlwind. I feel like it's a lot's changed. Um, right now, normally my clients were flexible with bedroom count. I feel like now everyone's definitely looking for that separate office, whether it's a formal room or like I've had some clients say we're going to buy a pre-made shed, put it in the back, or just create some type of workspace for two working individuals. That's the challenge. And then usually my clients tend to have 2 to 3 children. So it's definitely changed what we're looking for. I've noticed that my clients are finding, like, I've never had clients that are looking for a home with a pool. I've never seen that more this year. I usually actually, tragically, I guess, we fill up pools for our clients. And this year they are looking for that. So I think it's a lot's changed. I'm adapting and trying to figure out what works for my clients, and we're getting creative for sure.
Awesome. And are you actually helping them get those pre-made sheds put in and help handling all of the kind of legal work that goes along with that?
Yeah, so something unique about like what we do at my company is we do a lot of remodeling and creating space in general. I did that before this year. We work with investors or just my clients buy a home and then we make it the style that they want. So if anything, my business has grown because we have the capability and the team to do that. But we've been working with them on finding these pre-made sheds, which is hilarious, just because it's just walls and it's like on concrete. But we're making it cute. We're making it work. Trendy. That's the key word. Just making the space work and having some light. I feel bad because the husbands tend to be in the back and the wives have the office inside. So it's interesting. So we're trying to make it like a cool man cave, and so they have their own space outside.
Aw, that's awesome. And Caroline, anything you've noticed that you're surprised about how your clients are handling things and maybe how you're giving them advice?
Sure. Well, Sonoma County is super diverse in that in the past, folks wanted to move more downtown, amenities, walking distance to things. But, in Sonoma County, we have like the highest per capita in the whole state, actually, of like septic systems, which is very glamorous, and wells and such, meaning that people want land now. They want at least half quarter acre and more to really expand and flesh out and put in that shed and do all of those things and maybe convert a closet. Right now, I'm in my master closet that's quiet and nobody's around in order to find office spaces. So I think it's just of any year to exercise creativity. It's been this year, and thankfully I love that stuff, but definitely seeing folks wanting to make significant changes to existing floor plans of homes they're looking at in order to accommodate the new workplace, home life, all of that involved. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you really concentrate on redefining people's spaces as well. So I've heard you talk about just kind of thinking what creatively you can do to get some old stuff out and redefine the room.
Absolutely. And I've done a lot of that for my sellers this year. So it would appeal to those buyers coming in, like creating that flex space of a den and bedrooms off the side, or even a for a hallway and converting that to be an office more. So, yes, definitely all of those accommodations. I've seen big changes in my market in that direction.
Yeah, I know you've talked a lot about how to just simply change people's spaces with things that they already have. Would you talk a little bit how you made flex spaces?
So it might be converting a closet or using a hallway foyer and turning that into an office or making a den like a shared workspace with bedrooms off and just kind of redefining spaces. It's definitely a year to get creative and thankfully I find it fun. So it's been a busy one for sure.
Awesome. And how about you, Kevin? Anything that surprised you? Anything you've noticed out of the norm?
Well, where I serve at, San Mateo County and San Francisco County, right? Since we serve most over here, if you notice, like a lot of condominiums are for sale right now. A lot of townhouses are for sale right now, and it's sitting on the market for like 20 to like 60, 70 days now, right? And I think the reason why is because there's no more backyard. I think one thing people realize is one they don't need to live in an expensive area, right? San Mateo County or San Francisco or even, Silicon Valley, Santa Clara area, right? They want to move somewhere further now where it has backyard space. And it's been very popular lately. I partner up with somebody who does prefab homes and prefab sheds. Matter of fact, I'm doing one right now as we speak on one of my properties because, we're going to be moving there. And like, I noticed that everybody wants a backyard space now and everybody wants a place to work at in the backyard, honestly. Like that's what I'm seeing. It's been hot. It's been really hot. And even at like Contra Costa County, areas with like big backyards, Sacramento, Elk Grove, Sonoma, all these areas, like there's tons of people bidding on that, like bidding war right now. And and I think it's really the backyard space. If people want more of the suburban feel, so that's really interesting, so far.
And are people also putting their husbands in sheds in your area?
Uh, I think they. Well, I'd rather be in the shed personally. As a yeah, yeah. No, I think it's like a man cave. Like that's how
Yeah.
people look at it. But yeah, people like that. I could be wrong, but like
Yes, yes. I think my husband likes to pretend like he's leaving for work to like eliminate
yes,
the kids coming in. I think they're a win-win. They both are happy in some way with what
yeah.
So I'd love to switch topics to some of your best strategies in general for getting the best outcome for your clients, and would love to hear some of your tips. So, Caroline, maybe we can start with you this time. Would you talk about some of your best tips and strategies?
Being competitive in every respect we can, good relationships in my industry too with other realtors really helps. But I just think lining everything up, every timeline, and defining that and assuring the other realtor that we'll get it done always helps. And then on the seller side, if doing all the inspections in my market, not everyone does. So I always facilitate every single inspection that the buyer would need on the seller side so that we can be as competitive and move as quickly as possible and updating the houses. I love to go in and, help select from paint colors to maybe knocking out a wall to a light remodel. I have crews that I work with to maximize that space, professional stagers, all of that stuff. And I love the project, right? And that's what's really helped on the other side because with COVID, people don't have a lot of time and want to wait for contractors and such. So when representing sellers, in this market, my biggest advice is to make it as turnkey as possible for the highest net return, now more than ever.
Totally. And how do you resolve someone that's looking for everything right now. So they need their normal house and they also need an office and they also need like a kid's room, but they want the kitchen to be normal. How do you handle those kind
Mm-hmm.
of things?
I think trying to show them how we can be really flexible with spaces. I mean, I've had some folks look at converting pantries, like keeping the top shelves, taking out the lower, and a little desk can sit in there and you can close it up at the end of the day. I just think of any time more than ever, it's all about creativity with space. And also, we never know what's coming next. Some days my crystal ball works, some days it doesn't. All we can do is our best to be creative. And so far, so good.
Totally. Awesome. And how about you, Kevin? Any advice on best tips or best practices?
Yes, so with my clientele, my business, Kinetic Real Estate, right? We base it on vertical integration. Uh, so I also, I partner up with a home staging company. I partner up with a moving company. Where I have, shares in a company, right? And we built it together a couple years ago, and now we're expanding now. And the reason why we're expanding because a lot more people are looking for that type of service, like where it's kind of like an all-inclusive service, and you know basically like every time we get a listing, right, like even though the property looks like good already, decent to good already, like we always advise the sellers that, hey, I have a team that can make this even better, like even from for example, it looks good, right, and the paint is like those shiny paint, what do you call that, the gloss paint, like we'll advise
Mhm.
them to make it flat, like things, small things like that, even though it looks good already, because like my business partner in a home staging, he's also an interior designer, right? So I'll bring him in there and he'll give me the advice that we need, and we'll tell them this is how much budget we need in order to make this house really good, and especially for condominiums and townhouses, what I mentioned earlier, that they're a little bit more challenging to sell now, because there's just too many of them, and everybody's copying the San Francisco trend. The fact that there's too many condos available there right now that's been sitting, and rental rate went down there, like it follows with like Peninsula and so on. That's what we're seeing. So you have to really perform at the most in terms of like making a property super super turnkey, and stage it. And we have acquired a lot more furnitures this year than all the 3 years that or 2.5 years that we started the business, because it's gotten a lot busier and everybody's looking for that. So stagers are a lot busier now, even with the moving. It's a lot busy. We have to expand every single thing that we need to do, and even for myself, like we hired a listing coordinator now, because like it's just there's too many of them that needs our attention, to oversee these projects that we have, the remodeling, renovations, and such. So yeah, that's all inclusive. That's what we're doing right now. We help our client from literally from start to finish. Like even like referring them a CPA. Like we have everything at this point. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's great that you're busy right now. That's awesome.
yeah. I'm blessed. We're blessed. Yeah.
Yeah. And Christina, would love to hear some of your best strategies and tips. I know you're all about Redefine. So would you like to share some of your best strategies?
Yeah, so similar to Caroline and Kevin, I do stage the properties myself. Although I don't have a company like Kevin does, and it's probably not, I don't stage for anyone else but myself. But I think the biggest thing for sellers is in the Silicon Valley, our properties really stand out. So people, I go by CK Sells in Instagram, and people actually will be like, "Oh, that's another CK Sells listing or project." I could tell by the furniture, and agents will be like, "I'm assuming this is your furniture." I'm really appealing to the buyer pool, and the buyer pool is in kind of my same age range. So style wise, I know a lot of people follow just my page for styling and renovating. So for my sellers that hire me, I'm like, please just trust me. You guys can, if you're living there, you can live on my furniture. It doesn't matter. But I almost make them, it almost looks like no one's living there. So that's the key. I always get that. They're like, oh, sellers have left. And I'm like, no, they're living here. So minimal. On my buying side, I work a lot with first time buyers, and it's a really tough market. It has been for many years. It got a little better last year, and then this year it totally not in their favor again. But I like to joke that I kind of harass the agents. So I tell my buyers, I'm like, write your letters, get everything prepared. I get them to be, we're competitive here, so we're non-contingent. There's just no ifs and buts about it here. You're not getting that house if it's single family at least. But I get them prepared. I do have a training session. I let them lose out on one or two if they aren't ready. And then I kind of harass the listing agent in a kind way. We make friends. And I think by doing that, I usually get my first time buyers in within 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what they're looking for. I strive on that and I'm pretty proud of it. So I think building rapport is really important, but just preparing your buyers. Let them lose out on, I don't want them to, but sometimes you do need to let them lose out on one or two. And every time it works like a charm, my clients come back and be like, remember that one house you told us to go higher on and we didn't? Well, now the market's even higher. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So I think it's a strategy and just learning the market. Really get to know your agents. I keep it cool with everybody, even though I think we all can agree we get angry. I'm sure things happen, but I always say don't burn the bridge because 10% of it's those 10% of those agents are always doing the listings and always doing the buying. So you're going to come across them again. So that's my key is building that rapport and just staying cool, even though deep down I might be really upset.
Nice. That's awesome. Caroline or Kevin, do you have anything to add or argue with Christina on that one?
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. That's exactly how I do business too. And I think a lot said too for still picking up the phone and having that rapport with that other agent and getting, over texting or emailing. I really think that takes it over too.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about how virtual staging and virtual deals has impacted all of your lives. I feel like you all have some very strong opinions about it, and I would love to know what they are.
Yes. Okay. So I am not a fan in any way of virtual staging, and it's not popular in my market, but I also feel like it's just phony. I mean, the reason buyers walk into a home that's properly staged tangibly is they can, envision themselves, touch, smell, and what's it? Scratch and sniff. I'm kidding. But no, what I'm getting at is it's just fake. You don't trust anything about it when it's virtual. It just feels like a complete farce and cheap. It just feels cheap. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, so you don't trust it at all.
No, and it's very uncommon, even in my market that has a lot of rebuilds from fires. There is new construction coming, which is great. Nobody really does it. There's maybe 3% that will, but they always disclose, in the photos, the pictures without it as well. But it really defeats the purpose. I'm not a fan.
Gotcha. Yeah. Christina, how do you feel about it?
I'm definitely, unfortunately, hate to say it, not a fan. I'm against it. I just think that having staging, the whole point of staging for marketing purposes and being online is to get the buyer to get to the property. So I think your job's not done once the buyer gets to the property. Then you need to create an inviting, welcoming home. And if they get there and there's no staging, and I know that they maybe made a note of it, it doesn't create that inviting environment and it doesn't make that connection for them to see like, oh, we could live here. We would put our sofa here. We would put our TV here. I can't even tell you how many times when I don't put a TV, someone is like, oh, but where would you put the TV? And I'm like, well, where I put the mirror. Like, it's like very obvious where the TV would go, but they're very visual people. And, we're obviously in a field where we're good at it and not everyone is. So I really am not a fan of it at all. And I just think that I can't stress enough, like my own buyers can't see past an empty place. They actually think the empty homes are usually smaller than when there is furniture, they think it's larger. So it's a really important, I think it's an important feature. Quarantine, I totally understood people weren't doing it. We had a moment where we had to kind of do virtual staging if you didn't own your own staging. But I think the agents that tend to do staging, there might be a cost factor involved. And I really think it's worth the extra cost of getting staging and having it be a great space.
Wow. Awesome. All right. We have a 2 against. Kevin, are you a 1 4?
Oh my God, I'm super against it, honestly. Super against it. Yeah, it's deceiving, you know. And most of the people that does virtual staging, what I notice is like their property is not even cosmetically renovated, right? Because for the people who do cosmetic renovation to make the property clean and not and do virtual staging, that doesn't make sense, you know. You already spent the money to to do renovations cosmetically, even though it's a small amount. So you might as well just invest on staging to make it look pretty, right? But I've seen some, I've shown some homes that's virtually staged, and it's just extremely deceiving. Like I've never sold a property that's virtually staged. Let's look at it that way. And
Oh, really? Okay.
especially like we're in a very expensive market. You know, like people want to see staged properties. You know, like they don't want anything virtual. You know, like you're talking like seven-figure dollar, houses. Like, so they want like the sellers or the agent will have to invest in staging the property, sell for higher. You know, I wish I could show you guys the statistics, but like there's a huge statistics that every time the property is staged, it just sells faster and higher. I don't have the exact number in me, but yeah. So yeah, I'm against it.
Yeah. Okay. All against, sounds like. um, I love to ask this question for agents, and I think maybe it has changed this year, but I'm not sure. I would love to know what you consider the most important room in the house and why. Um, and Caroline, why don't we start with you?
Mhm. I think that's really easy. I think one thing that doesn't change is the heart of the home, and that's the kitchen. It's where the food comes from, it's where everyone gathers, it's where homework might be, it's where, maybe a drink at night, whatever. But the kitchen's always the central place everyone gathers. So, and the most versatile.
Yeah. Christina, what do you think?
I would have to agree with the kitchen. I will say the I would say I would like to combine it and say the great room, which our great rooms usually
Mhm.
lead have the island leading into the family because that's like the hangout space. So I know our designs of the homes we've been doing, we've always done that, and I can't stress enough how much people love that. I had one listing that was like a traditional floor plan. I couldn't change it if I really wanted to, and it was the only
Mhm.
listing I really had trouble selling in this seller's market, and it's because they kept saying, well, it doesn't flow, like I can't see my kids when I'm in the kitchen cooking. It's just too separate for me and too traditional. So I guess the kitchen, if I had to pick a second, I would definitely say the
Mhm.
backyard and having just having a pool. I don't know what it is, but like it's not
Yeah.
like that hot. Well, it's hot in the summer here, but it's like not hot year round. It's not like Southern California, but people are so into pools, and it's almost like they're preparing for another lockdown in the future, and they're like, summer's coming and we need a pool. So yeah, the backyard I guess is my runner up if I had to pick one, since my answer was the same as Caroline's.
Totally. And how about you, Kevin?
So just like everybody else, everybody loves kitchen. I think that will be the most important room in the house because you can do pretty much everything in there. That's where everybody does, their drinking, their homework, dinner, cooking, everything. And I think the second thing will probably be, honestly, I think it will be either master bathroom or competing against backyard right now.
Great. Well, we have reached the end of our session, and I want to thank each and every one of you for spending some time with us today. I think we all learned a lot, and I wanted to just give a quick summary on some of the things that we talked about. It sounds like really keeping an effort towards concentrating on what your clients' needs, remaining flexible, and remaining creative are really the path towards success this year. I love that you all have stayed true to the principles of your own brand and what you stand for, great staging, and advice on how to use space. And I feel like you all give a lot of empathy towards your clients and really put yourself in their place so that the client's needs can become your own needs. So thank you very much for joining us, and have a good rest of the day, you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.